we will know exactly where to dig. I still haven't figured out how to make sure they don't dig up the one from 2160. But that's for the Bicentennial Committee to figure out. By the way, we're taking names. Anybody wants to volunteer for the Bicentennial Committee? I think in the year 2116 might be a paying position, but don't quote me. Don't put that.
I'm very happy to bring back to our program. I'm sorry that so many people are trick-or-treating tonight, David, but anyways, David Polansky has entertained us before, and he has an inimitable style of playing the keyboard and the trumpet and singing. He has composed and arranged music for Tommy Dorsey and Pearl Bailey, and has played with Arthur Fiedler, Ray Bolger, Sandler and Young, and the Platters. And so please give a warm welcome to David Polansky.
Thank you so much. Are you all in good voice tonight? When I was here last year, I did a program that was commissioned by the Norman Rockwell Museum, and it was called Music Through the Decades. I don't know how many of you might have been here. And what they were all songs that were inspired by major world events. Tonight, I'm going to be doing a program called 50 Plus Years of Broadway, and they're all going to be major hits from Broadway shows between 1921 and sometime in the mid-60s, possibly up to 1970. And I'm going to start with a song that came from the 1921 Ziegfeld Follies. The Ziegfeld Follies were a series of elaborate theatrical revues. They were kind of a cross between Broadway shows and vaudeville. And they were modeled after the Folies Bergère, which started in Paris in 1869 and is still going, from what I hear. But in the 1921 Ziegfeld Follies, there was a song that Barbra Streisand resurrected about 30 years ago, and you all know it. Father has a business, strictly second-hand, everything from toothpicks to a baby grand. Stuff in our apartment came from Father's store, even things I'm wearing someone wore before. It's no wonder that I feel abused. I never get a thing that ain't been used. I'm wearing second-hand hats, second-hand clothes. That's why they call me Second-Hand Rose. Even our piano in the parlor, Daddy got for 10 cents on the dollar. Second-hand pearls, I'm sick of second-hand curls. I never get a single thing that's new. Even Jake the plumber, he's the man I adore. He had the nerve to tell me he's been married before. Oh, everyone knows that I'm just Second-Hand Rose from Second Avenue. From Second Avenue. New? Thank you so much. The Gershwins, George and Ira, really dominated the musical theater scene in the 20s. And in 1924, they wrote the music to a show called Lady Be Good. And it was the first show that Fred Astaire and Adele, his sister, danced in. And the big song, or the most enduring, no, it wasn't the most enduring. It was one of the most enduring songs, because this was 1924, so 93 years ago. This song is from Lady Be Good. Thank you. Of course, that song is called Fascinating Rhythm. Whoops, wrong button. Fascinating Rhythm had some crazy lyrics. Fascinating rhythm, you got me on the go. Fascinating rhythm, I'm all a quiver. What a mess you're making, the neighbors want to know why I'm always shaking just like a flivver. Each morning I get up with the sun to find that night no work has been done. I know that once it didn't matter, but now you're doing wrong when you start to patter. I'm so unhappy. Won't you take the day off, decide to run along somewhere far away off and make it snappy? Oh, how I long to be the guy I used to be. Fascinating rhythm, stop picking on me. Fascinating rhythm. The other biggie, though, from Lady Be Good was this, and it really is incredible when you think of how enduring some of these songs are. Of course, that's the man I love. In 1927, the Gershwins wrote the music for a show that was called Smarty. And has anybody here ever heard of a show called Smarty? It flopped. It opened in Philadelphia on October 11th, 1927, and it got panned all over the place. And everybody went crazy trying to rewrite the show really, really quickly, and they renamed it Funny Face. And the biggie from Funny Face was, "It's wonderful, it's marvelous that you should care for me. It's awful nice, it's paradise, it's what I love to see. You made my life so glamorous. You can't blame me for feeling amorous. Oh, it's wonderful, it's marvelous that you should care for me." So, by the time they rewrote the thing, it made it big, and it ran for, I think, 240 performances on Broadway, where it eventually wound up. You didn't think when Jeanette told you that I played trumpet and keyboard and sang that I was going to do all three at the same time, did you? Yeah, I just didn't want to make sure. Another show from 1927 that really had to be included in this show was by Jerome Kern and Oscar Hammerstein. Think about the fact that Oscar Hammerstein was writing music in 1927, and then he wrote all the stuff for The Sound of Music in the 1960s. I mean, it's really amazing. But a wonderful baritone named Paul Robeson immortalized this next song, and It's late in the day and I'm losing my voice, so we'll see if I can still sing it. Actually, it might help. Old Man River, that old man river, he must know something, he don't say nothing, he just keeps rolling, he keeps on rolling along. He don't plant taters, he don't plant cotton, and them that plants 'em is soon forgotten. But Old Man River, he just keeps rolling along. You and me, we sweat and strain, body all aching and racked with pain. Tote that barge, lift that bale, get a little drunk and you land in jail. I get weary and sick of trying, I'm tired of living and scared of dying. But Old Man River, he just keeps rolling along. Thank you. 1930, and we're almost done with the Gershwins, but not quite. The show was Girl Crazy, and Girl Crazy was the story of a guy named Danny Churchill. He lived in New York and was totally obsessed with women and booze. He came from a very, very well-to-do family, and his father was very concerned that this guy was going down all the wrong paths. So he decided that he was going to send Danny Churchill to manage the family ranch in Arizona. So he sent Danny out to Arizona, and Danny turned the family ranch into an entertainment mecca, a dude ranch, if you will. And he invited Ethel Merman to be the mistress of ceremonies. The local postmistress was played by Ginger Rogers, and Danny eventually went down the straight and narrow and wound up falling in love and marrying Ginger Rogers in the show. The big, well, once again, there was more than one big important song in Girl Crazy, but I think the most notable song was Embraceable You. The show was from 1930, but 40 years later, when my wife and I got married in 1970, we danced to it. Embrace me, my sweet embraceable you. Embrace me, you irreplaceable you. Just one look at you, my heart grows tipsy in me. You and you alone bring out the gypsy in me. I love all the many charms about you. Above all, I want my arms about you. Don't be a naughty baby. Come to Papa do. My sweet embraceable you. Great song. But the other biggie from Girl Crazy was they're writing songs of love, but not for me. A lucky stars above, but not for me. With love to lead the way, I've found more clouds of gray than any Russian play could guarantee. I was a fool to fall and get that way. Hi-ho, alas and all, so lack-a-day. I don't get that lyric. Hi-ho, alas, and also lack-a-day. Does anybody know what that means? Although I can't dismiss the memory of her kiss, I know she's not for me. So those two were from Girl Crazy. 1935, Jumbo. Anybody know anything about the show Jumbo? Yeah. Yes, apparently. My notes don't say that, but it was the story of a financially strapped circus. It opened on Broadway in November of 1935, and Jimmy Durante was in it. And at the end of every show, it was at the Hippodrome Theater, which was set up to look exactly like a three-ring circus. And at the end of each show, Jimmy Durante would lay down on the floor, and an elephant would come over and put his foot on Jimmy Durante's head, and which is probably what made Jimmy Durante's nose grow, but I'm not sure. Anyway, the big song from Jumbo. Nobody I ever speak to knows anything about Jumbo. Nobody's ever seen it. No, I know that the Tufts University mascot was an elephant named Jumbo. And of course, when Disney came out with Dumbo, I can't help thinking that there was some sort of a connection there. But anyway, the song was My Romance. My romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. My romance doesn't need a blue lagoon standing by. No month of May, no twinkling stars, no hideaway, no soft guitars. My romance doesn't need a castle rising in Spain, nor a dance to a constantly surprising refrain. Wide awake, I can make my most fantastic dream come true. My romance doesn't need a thing but you. A lot of jazz musicians love that song, but they didn't want to play it slow as a ballad, a rubato ballad. Rubato is a musical term that means forget about the time signature, forget about a particular beat, you can just interpret it. It's sort of like, my romance doesn't have to have a moon in the sky. So if you were playing with a bunch of other musicians, you know, you'd be driving them crazy because they're waiting to see when you're going to sing the next line. But jazz musicians turned My Romance into a very, very popular jazz tune. You get the idea. You noticed I was using my wah-wah mute. You all have these at home. It is a plunger. I probably told you about it last year. I don't know if I should bother with this again. Yeah, it's an interesting story. When you use a plunger with a trumpet, it's called a wah-wah mute because now, if you buy a wah-wah mute at a music store, they're usually around $15. Up until a year ago, there was a place in Natick that had been there for 40 years called Town Paint and Hardware. And this was 89 cents at Town Paint and Hardware. And a funny thing happened when I bought it. I went up to the cashier and she said, that'll be 95 cents with tax. And I gave her a dollar bill. And while she was making change, I unscrewed the handle and I put it on the counter. And I said, I won't need the handle. And she said, how are you going to use a plunger without a handle? And I said, I just hold it in my hand. And she said, that's the most disgusting thing I've ever heard in my life. And so I had to explain to her what a wah-wah mute was and that I wasn't a plumber. Anyway. 1935 was the last musical that George Gershwin wrote. He died the following year. And Ira started working with other people. But George and Ira wrote the music for Porgy and Bess. And I never saw Porgy and Bess on stage, but I went with my mom to the movie when I was about 10 years old. And I still get goosebumps when I think about Dorothy Dandridge coming out and singing this song at the beginning of the movie. It was just the most haunting, it's a beautiful, beautiful song. You all know what it is, I think. I just love it. And Dorothy Dandridge wasn't too hard to look at either. So the whole experience was pretty wonderful. Oh, I got plenty of nothing, and nothing's plenty for me. I got no car, got no mule, got no misery. The folks with plenty of plenty got a lock on their door, afraid somebody's a-going to rob 'em while they's out a-making more. What for? It's too low a key for me. I've really got to do something about that. But there was so much great, great music that came out of Porgy and Bess, but the problem is, and the same is true for Leonard Bernstein and West Side Story, you really need a symphony orchestra to do it justice. Because the music was so complex, and you at least need a string section, and my string section was busy tonight, so I didn't bring them along. We mentioned the Ziegfeld Follies earlier. The Ziegfeld Follies went to, I think, I apologize for having to look this up. Ziegfeld Follies ran from 1907 to 1931, but following that, they had radio revivals of the Ziegfeld Follies in 1932 and in 1936. And in the 1936 revival of the Ziegfeld Follies, Bob Hope sang a song called I Can't Get Started. Does anybody know the song? I've been around the world in a plane. I've settled revolutions in Spain. It's the perfect song for somebody that grew up in Winthrop, Massachusetts and used to have a really, really serious Boston accent. I can't get started. I've flown around the world in a plane. I've settled revolutions in Spain. Oh, the North Pole I've charted, but I can't get started with you. Around the golf course I'm under par, and all the movies want me to star. I've got a house that's a showplace, but I can't get no place with you. You're so supreme, lyrics I write of you scheme, just for the sight of you dream, both day and night of you, and what good does it do? In 1929 I sold short. In England I'm presented at court. You've got me so downhearted, 'cause I can't get started with you. Unfortunately, it was not a big hit when Bob Hope sang it. Nor was it a big hit when I sang it. But shortly after Bob Hope sang it, a trumpet player named Bunny Berrigan, who used to do a lot of work with Paul Whiteman, and then I think he had his own orchestra, recorded the song, and it kind of sounded like this. I'm not going to do the whole thing. and it was a huge hit on trumpet. And that is mostly what people remember I Can't Get Started for. I never even knew that Bob Hope sang it until I started putting this program together. And I said, I want this song in it. 1938. The Boys from Syracuse is the show. Music by Richard Rodgers. Richard Rodgers was a genius. Did any of you ever used to watch a show called Victory at Sea? With all of this gorgeous, gorgeous, I keep picturing there was and I'm getting off the subject, which I do. I think if they had been diagnosing attention deficit disorder when I was a little kid, I would have been on Ritalin really quickly. But there was this gorgeous, when the show came on, and of course it was all orchestrated, and you see these bows of these ships, you know, in a huge swells on the ocean, and the ships are going down and up, and the music is going down and up with it, and it was thrilling. Anyway, Richard Rodgers wrote the music to The Boys from Syracuse, and my favorite song from that show is a waltz, Falling in Love with Love. Falling in love with love is falling for make-believe. Falling in love with love is playing the fool. Caring too much is such a juvenile fancy. Learning to trust is just for children in school. I fell in love one night when the moon was full. I was unwise with eyes unable to see. I fell in love with love everlasting. But love fell out with me. It's just beautiful stuff. It's funny. We're going to do a waltz later that's in a minor key. This was in a major key. But usually when you think of minor keys, you know, you think of, you know, it's not happy stuff. Not so for the waltz that we're going to do later that's in a minor key from a different show. By the way, speaking of minor keys and Halloween, I write a lot of children's music, and it's too late for this Halloween, but I'm really struggling with the last words to the first 3 lines of a Halloween song that I've been trying to finish. I've got almost everything done, and I'm just wondering if I sing the song and you come up with like an appropriate word at the end of each line, whether, you know, I could use it. And if the song makes it really big, I'll cut you all in on the royalties. Can I? It's just a quick children's song. Should I just sing it and we'll see if anything comes to mind? Okay. Hear the pitter-pat of little... Yes! That's it! Oh, man! I don't know. This has been eluding me for weeks. Oh, thank you. Lots of ghosts and ghouls on every... Oh, I must be stupid. That's it. Oh, thank you so much. Filling up their bags with something sweet. I just don't know why it didn't occur to me. House to house to house, it's trick or treat. Lots of kids with flashlights in the night. Jack-o'-lanterns lend an eerie light. Every kind of mask you've ever... Yes! What a spooky night, it's Halloween. That's it. Okay, now that I've got it, I'm sorry?
When do we get our check?
I don't know. Well, first I have to market it. Let's just see if we've got it, okay? Scream out the last word. Hear the pitter-pat of little... Yes, lots of ghosts and ghouls on every street, filling up their bags with something sweet. House to house to house, it's trick or treat. Lots of kids with flashlights in the night. Jack-o'-lanterns lend an eerie light. Every kind of mask you've ever seen. What a spooky night, it's Halloween. Thank you so much. In 1938, the show was called Knickerbocker Holiday, and the music was by Kurt Weill. Kurt Weill was a German Jew who had to flee Germany in the 30s for obvious reasons. And when he came to this country, he brought all this great music with him. He was the guy that wrote, "Oh, the shark bait has such teeth, dear," for something called the Threepenny Opera, and it was all in German originally. Anyway, he wrote a song called September Song, and it's just one of the most gorgeous ballads ever. When I was a young man courting the girls, I played me a waiting game. If a maid refused me with tossing curls, I'd let the old earth take a couple of whirls. And as time came around, she came my way. As time came around, she came. Oh, it's a long, long while from May to December, but the days grow short when you reach September, when the autumn weather turn the leaves to flame. One hasn't got time for a waiting game. Oh, the days dwindle down to a precious few. September, November, and these few precious days I'll spend with you. These precious days I'll spend with you. Of course, I heard that song for the first time when I was a kid, and I thought it was about the months of the year. It's not. I guess you get to a certain age and certain things suddenly dawn on you, except the last words of the first 3 lines of my Halloween song. They just weren't happening. I'm kidding. I hope you know I'm kidding. My Funny Valentine was from a show called Babes in Arms, and it was 1939, and it was, once again, Richard Rodgers, and this time the lyrics were by Lawrence Hart. Does anybody know anything about the show Babes in Arms? I've got to see it, because I cannot for the life of me figure out how somebody could write words like the words to My Funny Valentine. They're nuts. The melody, I'm sorry, I'm not really warmed up, believe it or not. You know, it's this gorgeous melody. And if you think about how would you feel if somebody said your looks are laughable? And then you know what the next line is? Unphotographable. But you're my favorite work of art, so. And then he asks a bunch of rhetorical questions. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm ruining the song for you, and then I'm going to sing it. But he says, is your figure less than Greek? And the implication is, yeah, you don't really have such a hot figure. Is your mouth a little weak? Same answer. When you open it to speak, are you smart? Nope. But don't change a hair for me. I mean, how would you feel if somebody wrote a song like that about you? Somebody told me once that what the real situation was the object of this song was a very homely guy that had no self-confidence at all and a heart of gold and was the most wonderful person in the world, and that the woman that was singing the song to him was madly in love with him because he was just a beautiful human being. And that seemed a little bit easier to swallow. But anyway, I'm going to do the song. My funny Valentine, sweet comic Valentine, you make me smile with my heart. Your looks are laughable, unphotographable, yet you're my favorite work of art. Is your figure less than Greek? Is your mouth a little weak? When you open it to speak, are you smart? But don't change a hair for me, not if you care for me. Stay, little Valentine, stay. Each day is Valentine's Day. It is a gorgeous song. And I think it's a gorgeous song despite. Pal Joey, 1940, and a great song called I Could Write a Book. I like it. It's got good lyrics too, but I'll save them for another time. Apropos of nothing, I heard a great joke. A guy walked into a library and the reference librarian said, "May I help you, sir?" And he said, "Yes, I'd like a hamburger, French fries, and a Coke." And the librarian just shook her head and she said, "Sir, this is a library." And he said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I'd like a hamburger, French fries, and a Coke." Okay. 1943, and this show starts with a cowboy named Curly riding through a cornfield on a horse, singing, "There's a bright golden haze on the meadow, there's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's eye, and it looks like it's climbing clear up to the sky. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling, everything's going my way. All the cattle are standing like statues. All the cattle are standing like statues. They don't move their heads as they see me ride by. But a little brown maverick is winking her eye. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. I've got a beautiful feeling, everything's going my way. Oh, what a beautiful day. Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain, and the waving wheat can sure smell sweet when the wind comes right behind the rain. Oklahoma, every night my honey lamb and I sit alone and talk and watch a hawk making lazy circles in the sky. We know we belong to the land, and the land we belong to is grand. So when we say, "Yow, ki-yip-i-yo-wee-yay," we're only saying you're doing fine, Oklahoma, Oklahoma, O-K-L-A-H-O-M-A, Oklahoma. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm just going to do one more from Oklahoma because the humor was unbelievable. I have to learn a song called "Poor Judd is Dead." Do you know it? You know, Judd Fry was the local blacksmith, and he was a mean, ornery guy. And when he died, there was this sort of put-on sadness. I don't think anybody was really sad to see him go. And they sang this song that was in part like, poor Judd is dead, poor Judd, Judd Fry is dead. He's looking oh so peaceful and serene, and serene. He's all laid out to rest, with his hands across his chest. His fingernails have never been so clean. You know, I mean, and it's one thing after another in this song. But the song that I liked from Oklahoma was I Cant Say No. It ain't so much a question of not knowing what to do. I've known what's right and wrong since I've been 10. I've heard a lot of stories, and I reckon they are true, about how girls are put upon by men. I know I mustn't fall into the pit, but when I'm with a feller, I forget. I'm just a girl who can't say no. I'm in a terrible fix. I always say, come on, let's go, just when I ought to say nix. When a fella tries to kiss a girl, I know she ought to give his face a smack. But as soon as someone kisses me, I somehow sort of want to kiss him back. I'm just a fool when lights are low. I can't be prissy and quaint. I ain't the type that can faint. How can I be what I ain't? I can't say no. What you gonna do when a fella gets flirty and starts to talk purty? What you gonna do? Supposing that he says that your lips are like cherries or roses or berries. What you gonna do? Supposing that he says that you're sweeter than cream and he's gotta have cream or die. What you gonna do when he talks that way? Spit in his eye? I'm just a fool who can't. Anyway, it goes on and on and on, and we don't have time. It's a great song. When people want to write a song that really appeals to, I'm trying to think of a polite, a song that appeals to lust. Usually they mess it up and they wind up writing something that's vulgar or somehow inappropriate. This song, and I did think that it was from a play, and so it's been in the program for a couple of years. Somebody recently told me it wasn't from a play, it was from a movie. But the song is Beware My Foolish Heart, and I just think it's a gorgeous song, so I'm going to do it. The night is like a lovely tune, beware my foolish heart. How white the ever-constant moon, take care, my foolish heart. There's a line between love and fascination that's hard to see on an evening such as this, for they both give the very same sensation when you're lost in the magic of a kiss. Her lips are much too close to mine, beware my foolish heart. But should our eager lips combine, then let the fire start. For this time it isn't fascination or a dream that will fade and fall apart. It's love. This time it's love, my foolish heart. I think that verse, her lips are much too close to mine, beware my foolish heart, but should our eager lips combine, then let the fire start. Is that hot stuff? It's great. 1946, Harold Arlen, who wrote the music for Wizard of Oz, and Johnny Mercer, who is just a phenomenal, phenomenal musician, did a show called St. Louis Woman. And the biggie from St. Louis Woman was, I'm gonna love you like nobody's loved you, come rain or come shine. High as a mountain and deep as a river, come rain or come shine. I guess when you met me, it was just one of those things. But don't ever bet me, 'cause I'm gonna be true if you let me. You're gonna love me like nobody's loved me, come rain or come shine. Happy together, unhappy together, and won't it be fine? Days may be cloudy or sunny, we're in or we're out of the money, but I'm with you always. I'm with you rain or shine. Yeah, I love that song. Frank Sinatra loved the song too. 1949, South Pacific. I was a little bit surprised that South Pacific came out in 1949 because it's all about the war in the Pacific during World War II. And I really would have thought it would have come out sooner, but I guess they knew what they were doing because South Pacific wasn't such a flop. Anyway, I wanted to do, after all those ballads, I figured I'd do something a little up-tempo. So it's not going to be Some Enchanted Evening. It's going to be, we got sunlight on the sand, we got moonlight on the sea, we got mangoes and bananas you can pick right off the tree, we got volleyball and ping pong and a lot of dandy games. What ain't we got? We ain't got days. We get packages from home, we get movies, we get shows, we get speeches from our skipper and advice from Tokyo Rose, we get letters doused with perfume, we get dizzy from the smell. What don't we get? You know darn well, we have nothing to put on a clean white suit for. What we need is what there ain't no substitute for. There is nothing like a dame, nothing in the world. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a dame. We feel restless, we feel blue, we feel lonely and in brief. We feel every kind of feeling but a feeling of relief. We feel hungry as the wolf felt when he met Red Riding Hood. What don't we feel? We don't feel good. And I'd like to know how they notated these next two lines. Lots of things in life are beautiful, but brother, that's not too hard. But the next one, to get all the notes into the right measures, there is one particular thing that is in nothing whatsoever in any way, shape, or form like any other. There is nothing like a dame, nothing in the world. There is nothing you can name that is anything like a dame. That's about half the song. It keeps going and going and going. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. 1950, Guys and Dolls, Frank Lesser. And a song, I get requests when I do children's concerts. Sometimes little kids ask me for this song in 2017. I love you, a bushel and a peck, a bushel and a peck, and a hug around the neck, a hug around the neck, and a barrel and a heap, and a barrel and a heap, and I'm talking in my sleep about you, about you. 'Cause I love you, a bushel and a peck, you bet your pretty neck I do. La da la da la da, la da la da la da, la da la da la da. Bushel and a peck. Wow. Oh gosh. I don't know where to go next because we only have about 15 minutes left. I'm gonna skip to 1955. Damn Yankees. You gotta have. No, you're absolutely right. Did you say hot? I hope so. Well, you know the song, Hello Mother, Hello Father? Well, the guy that wrote that, Alan Sherman, wrote a spoof on You Gotta Have Hot, and he called it You Gotta Have Skin, and it goes like this. You gotta, sorry, I'm in the wrong key.
And if you try to sing a song in the wrong key, it's not a good idea.
You gotta have skin. All you really need is skin. Skin's the thing that if you got it outside, it helps keep your insides in. It covers your nose, and it wraps around your toes. And inside it you put lemon meringue, and outside you hang your clothes. Skin is what you feel at home in, and without it furthermore, both your liver and abdomen would keep falling on the floor, and you'd be dressed in your intestine. A Siamese twin needs an extra set of skin. When the doctor knows that you're feeling sick, where does he stick his needle in? In the end of your skin. All your friends and all your kinfolk, whether poor or whether rich, they have all got lots of skin folk. It's convenient when they itch, nothing can match it when you scratch it. It fits perfectly. Yours fits you and mine fits me. When you're sitting down, it folds and looks grand, and then when you stand, it's where it's been. Ain't you glad you got skin? When you were just a little baby, well, your skin fit fine, and it's still gonna fit you when you're 6'9". So whether you're big, tall, fat, small, chubby, or thin, ain't you glad you got skin? Isn't that good stuff? 1956, Lerner and Lowe, and I've thrown a custard in her face. No, I've grown accustomed to her face. From My Fair Lady. I've grown accustomed to her face. She almost makes the day begin. I've grown accustomed to the tune. She whistles night and noon. Her smiles, her frowns, her ups, her downs are second nature to me now. Like breathing out and breathing in. I was serenely independent and content before we met. Surely I could always be that way again, and yet I've grown accustomed to her look, accustomed to her voice, accustomed to her face. This is the biggie from My Fair Lady. I could have danced all night, I could have danced all night and still have begged for more. I could have spread my wings and done 1,000 things I'd never done before. I'll never know what made it so exciting. Why all at once my heart took flight. I only know when she began to dance with me. I could have danced, danced, danced all night. I'm going to skip it. Thank you so much. I'm going to skip ahead because I don't want to end the show on a long, slow, sad song. So I'm going to skip and then I'll go back. Do you all know who B. Arthur was? She played Maud, and she was one of the Golden Girls. And in 2002, she did a show on Broadway called Just Between Friends. And she got into, it was a one-woman show, and she got into all sorts of intimate details about her personal life. And she talked about her divorce from somebody that she really, really loved dearly and continued to love dearly. They just couldn't stand living together anymore. And the song that she sang to highlight that particular part of the show was a song called Where Do You Start? And the music was by Johnny Mandel, and the lyrics are by Marilyn and Alan Bergman, who wrote the lyrics to How Do You Keep the Music Playing, and a whole bunch of other really, really gorgeous songs. But you probably haven't heard this because most people tell me they haven't. I hope you enjoy it. Where do you start? How do you separate the present from the past? How do you deal with all the things you thought would last that didn't last? With bits of memory scattered here and there, I look around and don't know where to start. Which books are yours? Which tapes and dreams belong to you and which are mine? Our lives are tangled like the branches of a vine that intertwine. So many habits that we'll have to break, and yesterdays we'll have to take apart. One day there'll be a song or something in the air again to catch me by surprise, and you'll be there again. A moment in what might have been. Where do you start? Do you allow yourself a little time to cry? Or do you close your eyes and kiss it all goodbye? I guess you try. And though I don't know where and don't know when I'll find myself in love again, I promise there will always be a little place no one can see, a tiny part deep in my heart that stays in love with you. What do you think? Is that a great lyric? Yeah, I think it's a gorgeous, gorgeous lyric. Okay. Oh, I love this. Sound of Music, 1959. It was 1959. I was talking about Rodgers and Hammerstein before, or at least Hammerstein from 1927. And I thought it was the 60s, but it's not. It's 1959. And this is my favorite. Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things. Cream-colored ponies and crisp apple strudel, doorbells and sleigh bells and schnitzel mit noodles, wild geese that fly with the moon on their wings. These are a few of my favorite things. Girls in white dresses with blue satin sashes, snowflakes that stay on my nose and eyelashes, silver white winters that melt into springs. These are a few of my favorite things. When the dog bites, when the bee stings, when I'm feeling sad, I simply remember my favorite things, and then I don't feel so bad. Thank you. Since, you know what I'm going to do? There are too many show tunes that are, I mean, I could do 6 of these programs, I suppose. Does anybody have a song that you just particularly wanted to hear tonight that I haven't played? Just yell it out and I'll play it, because I know every song in the world. I know.
Something by George M. Cohan.
Okay. You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave. You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave. Every heart beats true for the red, white, and blue, and it's never a boast or brag. Should old acquaintance be forgot, keep your eye on the grand old flag. Yeah, I have a whole hour's worth of patriotic stuff that I do. But he was the poster boy for, and that was the poster song for World War I. And every time a war breaks out, you know, the patriotic songwriters go crazy writing patriotic songs. I think Proud to Be an American came out of Vietnam. And I'm not sure, but yeah, I've got a book that thick with all kinds of great stuff in it. Anybody else? I don't have the lyrics with me, and I think I would mess it up if I started to do it. Happy Talk. It's, you know, once again, I don't have the lyrics with me, so I'm leaning on my trumpet. Yeah. Ah, what a great song. It really is a great tune. I'm going to end with God Bless America, but I have to tell you a story. I was doing a kids concert in Hartford, and a little kid that couldn't have been any more than 5 years old came over and asked if I would accompany him while he sang God Bless America. And I said, sure. And the kid was this tall, so I put the microphone down to, his height. This kid could really sing. He was born to sing. Every note was perfectly in tune. Every note out of his mouth was every word was so well articulated that you didn't have any trouble understanding what he was singing. And he had 250 people mesmerized. And he came to stand beside her and guide her and sang "Through the Night with the Light from a Bulb." Needless to say, the audience had the same reaction you guys did. Anyway, Irving Berlin wrote God Bless America in 1918, but it really didn't become big until Kate Smith started singing it. And then, when World War II was breaking out, when Germany had invaded Poland, the story goes that Kate Smith called Irving Berlin and said, horrible things are happening in Europe. Can you write a little prelude to God Bless America that tells us Americans how lucky we are that we don't have bombs falling on our heads? And he wrote the introduction that starts, "While the storm clouds gather." I don't know if you all know it, but I'm going to start with it. While the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful to a land so fair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Thank you so much for having me back. Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, Debbie. Good to see you, Al. We'd like to have you as part of the group. That would be great. Oh, yeah, once a month. Museum's open every Tuesday. It's in the mill building on Broad Street, 43 Broad.
I think it's a matter of finding out what